In this movie, we're going to complete our design, which, as you'll see, requires quite a bit of transformation, as well as a somewhat disciplined approach. And I'll also show you one last way to use the shape builder. I've gone ahead and saved our progress so far, symmetricalflowers.ai, but we are missing some elements. If I switch over to the final version of the document, which does look different, because after all, I created it independently. Every time you do this project, it's going to look somewhat different. And I've gone ahead and turned off the grout layer for a moment so we can see the design elements. Notice that we still need to add a couple of flowers to the beige tiles, and we also need to add this collection of 4 flowers to the green corner tile. And then we need to duplicate everything 3 times in order to complete the design. So let's get started. I'm going to zoom in on my document in progress here. And armed with the black arrow tool, I'll go ahead and click on this upper right flower. And because it's grouped, that selects the whole thing. I'll go ahead and drag it up to this region. Doesn't really matter exactly where. And then I'll press the Alt key or the Option key on the Mac and drop it into place. Now we need to rotate that flower 45 degrees. So I'll double click on the rotate tool, enter an angle value of 45 degrees, make sure the preview checkbox is turned on, looks great, click OK. Now obviously it's not aligned properly, so I'll need my Smart Guides for this. I'll go up to the View menu and choose the Smart Guides command to turn them on. And then I'll zoom in and notice that there's this anchor point right there dead center at the top of the flower. I'll press the V key to switch to the black arrow tool, and I'll drag this anchor point upward until it snaps into alignment. I should be able to see the word intersect and both a horizontal and vertical green line, which is telling me I have moved this point to the intersection of these tiles, which is exactly what I want. I'll go ahead and zoom back out, and I'll press Shift down arrow twice, and then I'll press the down arrow key twice more. And it really doesn't matter. You can put this flower anywhere you want it. This just happens to be where I'm putting mine. All right, I'll press Control Y, Command Y on a Mac. And of course, the flower doesn't match the actual element in the photograph. Of course, if you feel a burning desire to draw that element, you can, but I feel like the flower is a great substitute. It's a lot easier to create as well since it's already done. All right, now I'll grab the Rotate tool, which I can get by pressing the R key, of course, and I'll Alt-click at the intersection of these tiles down here inside of the octagon. And when I do, that'll bring up the Rotate dialog box. I want to change the angle value to -90 because I'm rotating in a clockwise direction. Therefore, I need a negative value. Turn the preview checkbox on. Looks great. Click the Copy button this time in order to create a copy of that flower. All right, now we need to move the flowers over into the corner tiles. Again, the corner tiles in the photograph do not contain flowers. Ours will, however, contain flowers. So I'll switch back to the black arrow tool. I'll go ahead and grab this flower here and then drag it and press the Alt key or the Option key on a Mac and drop it into place. That way I create a copy. Now I'll zoom in on this tile and I'll go ahead and drag this top point once again at the top of the flower anyway, sideways right now. But I'll drag it until it snaps into alignment with the intersection of these tiles. And then I'll press Shift left arrow and maybe the left arrow a couple more times in order to nudge that flower into the desired location. Now, I'll go ahead and press Control Y or Command Y on the Mac. The problem is that this skirt here, the flower, leaks out too far, and these flowers are actually really tight. So if I start rotating them, they're going to overlap each other, and I don't want that. So instead, actually, I think I'll move this guy one more click over by pressing the left arrow key. Instead, what we want to do is shape build inside of this group. So I'm going to take advantage of something known as the group isolation mode. And here's how you get to it. Using your black arrow tool, you double click on any one of these paths, and then you are now isolated inside of this group, and you can't modify anything outside the group, which makes for a much less confusing experience for this next operation. All right, now I'm going to go over here to my shape tools and click and hold and then select the ellipse tool from the flyout menu. And starting from this horizontal guideline, I'll press the Alt key or the Option key on the Mac and drag outward like so until I surround about this region. Looks actually pretty good. And I'll go ahead and release. And I might nudge that over just a little bit by pressing the right arrow key. All right, so let's go ahead and send that guy to back by right-clicking on the shape and then choosing Arrange and then choosing Send to Back. And that'll just send it to the back of the group, not to the back of the illustration, because again, we're isolated inside this group. All right, now I'll go ahead and switch back to the black arrow tool, and I'll shift click on this skirt shape right there to select it. And then finally, we'll go to the shape builder tool. And instead of dragging or alt dragging or option dragging or any of that stuff, I'm just going to click inside of this intersection right there. Just click. That's it. Now, in my case, you'll notice that that central shape remains brown. If it turns white on you, I'll tell you how to solve that problem in just a moment. But in any case, that breaks everything apart. All right, now I'll twirl open this flower item here inside the layers panel, and I'll go ahead and scroll down, and you can see we've got a bunch of selected paths here. This guy, the middle one, is the only one we care about. So shift click on its meatball to deselect it. That leaves the other one selected. Press the backspace key or the delete key on the Mac in order to get rid of the excess. Now we're going to fade over to the Mac for a moment because on this platform we encountered a different experience. And let me show you what that looks like. Right after I created the ellipse, sent it to back, and selected both shapes, then I switch over to the Shape Builder tool. And I click inside that overlapping area, and it ends up turning white on me, which is a pain in the neck, but let me show you how to solve the problem. You'd still go ahead and twirl open the flower inside the Layers panel, and then you want to go ahead and scroll to the bottom. You'll shift meatball, that central path, the one that's white in this case, press the delete key here on the Mac or the backspace key on the PC, because you might encounter this problem on the PC, in order to get rid of the extra shapes. The way you might figure you solve this problem is you'd press the Command key here on the Mac or the Control key on the PC and click on that path in order to select it. And then you'd go up here to the Control panel and you'd click on the fill and you'd switch it to brown. And nothing happens. You even see the fill color change to brown. Well, that's just a function of the way the Shape Builder tool works. What you have to do is switch to some other tool. And I recommend you switch back to the black arrow tool. Then notice we see the right fill color this time. Go ahead and click on it and choose brown. And now you've changed the fill back to brown as it's supposed to be. In which case, press Command-Shift-A or Control-Shift-A on the PC in order to deselect your drawing. All right, at this point, we're done. To leave the group isolation mode, you just press the Escape key. That's all you have to do. And you're back to the full version of the illustration. All right, I'm going to switch back to my black arrow tool. Click anywhere on the flower to select the entire thing. Back out just a little bit. Press Control-Y or Command-Y on the Mac to enter the outline mode. Press the R key to switch to the Rotate tool. Press the Alt key or the Option key on the Mac and click right there on that anchor point, which represents the center of the tile. And the last angle value I had was -90 degrees. That's just fine, actually. So I'll click the Copy button in order to create the first copy of the flower. Now I'll press Control-Y or Command-Y on the Mac so I can see the flowers in the preview mode. And I'll press Control-D twice in a row. That would be Command-D twice in a row on the Mac. All right, you know, there's one more item I want to add. There was an interesting little sort of element here in the center. I'll press Control-Y or Command-Y on the Mac in order to see it here inside of the image. And it looks like a kind of star. And that's exactly what I'm going to use to create that shape. So I'll go ahead and switch from the ellipse tool to the star tool. And I'll drag from that anchor point right there outward like so. Create a 5-pointed star by default anyway. Press the down arrow key to reduce the number of points to 4. And then I'm just going to drag along this horizontal guideline until I create something that looks to be about the right size. It's not the right angle, but I can't really constrain it to the right angle at this moment. So I'll rotate it into place after I release my mouse button. And let's go ahead and give this guy a yellow fill this time around. And then I'll double click on the Rotate tool. In order to bring up the Rotate dialog box, I'll enter a value of 45 degrees. That looks great. Click OK. And we have all of our base shapes. I'll press Control-Y or Command-Y on the Mac in order to see them all. Let's go ahead and back off here and make sure that everybody's present and accounted for. Now, I promised we were going to finish off the entire design, including the 3 duplicates of all this stuff, but we're running out of time in this movie. So we'll hit it in the next movie and also show you how to group all of these items to avoid as much chaos as possible.